What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a special head-to-head episode of Yami Noob. We are going to be looking at our giveaway XSR 700 versus a Twisted Road XSR 900. Let's get into it. Alrighty guys, so this is a pretty special episode. I don't think there's another XSR versus XXR video on YouTube up right now, so this may be the only 700 versus 900 video that you will find on YouTube. So be sure to smash that subscribe button so we can keep putting out premiere content like this. So what's going on here today? We've got our giveaway XSR 700. This is a bike we bought last week for our new giveaway series. Hit the link down below to yaminoob.co if you don't know what's going on with this. One lucky person will be winning this bike along with a couple others we've got going on. And then this over here is an XSR 900 that I picked up off of Twisted Road today. If you guys don't know, I'm an investor in Twisted Road. I really believe in the idea and the company of peer-to-peer motorcycle rentals. I think it's the future of motorcycle rentals. So this was a bike that was listed for rent on Twisted Road, and if you want a free day of renting on Twisted Road, hit the link down below and you can check that out. So what are these two motorcycles? So what we have here is Yamaha's interpretation of the Neo Retro segment, okay? And if you guys want to stick around towards the later half of this video, or if you want to skip ahead right now, I will be doing comparison vlogging on both of these motorcycles, so there will be some riding in this video as well. But that's going to come a little bit later after we dive into the specs of these bikes. So what do we have here? Like I was saying, the Neo Retro category for Yamaha are these kinds of bikes. You know, you can kind of think of them as competing with things like the Bonneville, the Scramblers, you know, that kind of neo-retro look. People want an old aesthetic but with a new bike, something like that. But as we're going to see in this video, these two bikes could not be more different. So let's start with the XSR 700, and I'm pretty sure that's going to get you guys up to speed of what exactly Yamaha is going for here. So we've got Yamaha's XSR 700 right here. This is basically an FZ07, but kind of in a bit of a suit. But as we're gonna learn, it has a little bit of other things going on with it as well. This motorcycle is going to come in at $84,999, a little bit more expensive than the FZ07. It's going to feature the same 689cc parallel twin with the cross-plane crank, that classic FZ07 engine that many are familiar with and love so dearly. Everyone knows that once you get an exhaust on these bad boys, they really open up and sound awesome. Makes about 74 horsepower and 49 foot-pounds of torque on this bad boy right here, but that doesn't tell the whole story. Honestly, as we're going to see in the vlog portion later in this episode, the XXR is really, you know, forgiving and comfortable and a nice engine to kind of just get that nice low-end grunt off the line and away you go. So it's not going to be a sort of hard-hitting, crazy sport bike kind of engine. Weighs about 397 pounds. The XXR 700 is a very approachable motorcycle. I don't think it's going to really scare anybody with its weight. Seat height is a little bit on the high side, 32.9 inches for this motorcycle. So if you are a bit of a shorter rider, definitely go do and sit on one of these at a dealership, because you might find that you have to tiptoe a little bit. I'm imagining people who have under a 30-inch inseam might have a bit of trouble flat-footing this motorcycle. Suspension-wise, it's going to come with your standard 41mm non-adjustable front fork. Not the greatest thing in the world, but Yamaha did revise it for this platform specifically. Non-adjustable at the front, preload adjustable only at the rear, so very standard entry-level kind of suspension on this motorcycle. It does have dual disc brakes up front, and one thing I did notice is that this master cylinder here does have a Brembo logo. I don't know what's going on with that, because it's definitely not a Brembo caliper. These are the no-name, off-the-shelf Yamaha dual discs. They work okay. They will stop the motorcycle. Are they anything to write home about? Not really. So one thing to note about this bike is that it comes with a very standard sport bike tire setup. It's got a 120/70/17 at the front and a 180/55/17 at the rear, wearing these Pirelli Phantom Sport Comp tires. I have not seen these tires on any other motorcycle yet that we've tested, but as we'll see on the on-road portion, they perform all right. They're not thing to write home about. They're not your Rosso 3s. They're not your Q3s. They're not a sport tire. They're not even really a sport touring tire. They are a bit wonky, so if you do want to do any kind of serious riding on your XXR, I would recommend upgrading those tires. So that's kind of a lowdown on the XXR's stats. Let's take a look at the XXR 900. So this is Yamaha's XXR 900. This is basically the same idea as the XXR 700. They've taken the FZ09/MT09 platform and kind of put a cool neo-retro spin on it. So this bike's going to come in at $9,499, so just a little bit more expensive than the 700. So I think a lot of people think, oh, hey, I'll just upgrade to the 900 and kind of grow into it. But as we're going to see in the vlog portion, this is not a beginner bike. Oh my God, I cannot stress that enough. This is not a starter's motorcycle. Do not buy this as a beginner. This bike absolutely rips, and you'll see in the vlogs. It features an 847cc triple. This is a tried and true motor from Yamaha. They've been putting it out since 2014. It's an absolute riot to ride down the street. Tons of low end torque, super fun engine. Really, really has a lot of character. Makes about 115 horsepower, so we're way above the 100 horsepower mark here. Makes 65 foot-pounds of torque. Weighs about 430 pounds, so pretty lightweight, kind of light on its feet for this type of motorcycle, but you definitely feel that extra mass over the 700. It's got 41 millimeter forks up at the front, so not the biggest forks that I've seen on a sport bike. Features preload and rebound adjustments on the front. Not full adjustable suspension here, so that's kind of a downside. The new generation MT09 does have that, but we're going to get in a little more in depth of what's different on this motorcycle over the MT09 as well in our vlog portion. The other thing that this bike has is a preload and rebound adjustable rear suspension as well, so you're getting some adjustability with this bike, but not a whole lot. 32.7-inch seat height on this motorcycle, so very similar to the XXR 700. The XXR 700 is a little bit higher than this bike, so if you are a bit of a shorter rider, you might appreciate that small dip in seat height, but I don't think it's enough to really matter. As far as technology goes, this motorcycle features a standard A and B rider modes that's just going to really tune down the power a little bit. You can think of it as sort of sport, normal, and rain modes. It's kind of what Yamaha does. It's got traction control, which is a cool feature. The original FZ09 did not have traction control, so Yamaha kind of went back with the platform and updated a couple things whenever they released this motorcycle. The ergonomics on this bike are a little bit different than the FZ09 as well. They're a little bit more sporty. It's a little bit more different than the FZ09 in terms of ergonomics, and especially different from the XXR 700. So just like we saw with the XXR 700, this features your standard road-going modern sport bike tire and wheel size, 120/70 17s in the front, 180/55 17s in the rear. So just about any tire you'd want to get, you could get in this size. This bike, because it is used, because it is someone's actual motorcycle, this has the Michelin Power 4s on it. So this is a touring tire intended for highway mileage, lots of mileage, that sort of thing. One thing to keep in mind about the XXR 900 is that it is slightly revised over the original FZ09. This has a better throttle mapping, front suspension has been revised a little bit, and it does ride quite a bit better than the FZ09. We're gonna see that in our vlog portion here in just a little bit. So now that you've got some specs and features on both of these motorcycles, let's cut to the vlog portion where I give my impressions of each motorcycles back to back.
Alrighty guys, now that we covered the specs on the XSR 900 versus the XSR 700, I thought it'd be, important to take them out on a ride. You got to know how it feels on the road, right? So hopefully now I've conveyed that even though these bikes look similar, you might look at something like the XXR 700 versus 900 and you're like, oh, that's, the 900 is just it's a bike with a little bit more, power. It's something I can grow into. I cannot, as I said in the garage, I cannot stress to you how different those two bikes are. And I think once we kind of get going here, you'll start to understand why that is. So yeah, you might be tempted to think, oh, the XSR 900 is a bike I can grow into. It's a bike that, I don't want to get the 700, I want to get the big bike. Why not? Guys, this bike absolutely shreds. This is a no-holds-barred sports bike. It just happens to look neo-retro for some reason. It is completely different from the XSR 700. It could not be more different. So ripping through here downtown, you know, first and second gear, it's just gobs of torque. I owned an MT-09, or rather it was an FC-09 back when I owned it in 2017. So it's been about 3 years since I've been on one of these 847cc triples from Yamaha. And boy, howdy do they rip. These things have so much torque. So this is not your garden variety, neo retro, scrambler, cafe, whatever kind of bike you want to call it. This is a true blue sports bike because all the DNA from the FC-09 is right there. And that is an absolute ripper of a bike. So yeah, the other big change they made for this one over the original FC-09 is the gas cutout tank is a little bit different right here. The rear seat's a little different as well. I'm honestly shocked because the XSR feels like a more sport-oriented bike than the FC-09, which you wouldn't really expect, honestly. It feels like, you know, if you looked at the bikes on paper, or on a magazine cover or the internet, you're like, oh, that one's clearly the softer one. The other one's way more hard-edged. But from the saddle right here, from what I remember of my FC-09, this feels way more sporty. This feels much more aggressive. So yeah, I think if you're looking at this style of bike, you know, really understand what you're getting into with the XSR 900 here. This is, although it looks like a cool neo-retro bike and it looks like you can bop around town with it, dude, this is not a bop around town kind of bike. This thing shreds. And Whitney, the person that I rented this from off Twisted Road, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you know, she's done a couple modifications to this motorcycle. It's got these bar ends right here. It's got this full Krapovich exhaust. It's got a tune on it, all kinds of fun goodies. So it also doesn't come with the standard battle axe that this motorcycle's fitted with. This one actually has the, I believe it's the Michelin Pilot 4s. I think that it's a very touring bias tire, so not as aggressive as the battle axes that these normally come with. But as I mentioned in the section in the garage, you know, the tires really tell the story about these bikes. But I'll just give you guys a look here. So fourth gear, I don't know, 5,000 RPM. All the power you could want, man. Yeah, this 847cc mill from Yamaha, fucking hell, this thing pulls. But now we're gonna get it out in some twisties and see how she does when the going gets a little twistier. So let's go and do that. Alrighty guys, now we are up in the hills. I'm going to take the XSR through some twistier bits. Now it is drizzling a little bit, as you can tell, so I'll try to wipe you guys off as much as I can here. Take care of my sweet boys watching my video. And again, the riding experience, because of this revised suspension, because of the slight ergonomics changes, this more aggressive seat, it definitely feels like a real, you know, sport bike when you're in the saddle. If you don't look down and see all the sort of neo-retro situations, if you just keep your eyes up ahead, you're like, oh, I'm just like on a really crazy triple cylinder sport bike. It feels really similar to the Speed Triple or something like that, with just that little bit extra torque, you know? I mean, Jesus, dude, you could just shred with this thing. Really, really shred, in a way that might not be appropriate for public streets. Certainly not. I think for someone with, you know, maybe a year or two under their belt, this is a great bike to jump up to if you know what you're going to get into. But if it's, you know, your first bike, dude, don't get this as a first bike, man. Look at this thing, man. It just lights it up, man. It just lights it up. Not a good bike for a beginner. So who should buy this thing? Like, who the hell should actually own an XSR 900? Well, Whitney does own one, so let's think about her situation. I saw that she had a BMW in her garage as well. So I think it's someone who, you know, they want something sporty, but they don't want to sacrifice on looks. Maybe they're not into the kind of sport bike lifestyle and looks. Maybe they want something that, you know, just has a bit more of a cooler aesthetic to it, but still doesn't compromise at all in the sport department. yeah, this thing doesn't compromise in the slightest. And again, guys, we're on a public road here. It's slightly drizzling, and this is not my bike, so we are not going to be doing any kind of, you know, even 6/10, 5/10 type of pushing on this motorcycle. We're going to have a good time with it, just kind of taking these twisties as they come. So yeah, I really think the core audience for this is someone who really wants a cool looking motorcycle that has that neo-retro aesthetic, but is still just a balls to the wall sport bike, which this thing is. It doesn't feel like a soft neo-retro bike in the absolute slightest. It's actually really similar in that way to the CB650R that we had as a giveaway bike, in that, you know, it's just a sport bike. It looks cooler, but it's still just a sport bike, you know? Like, the CB650R is certainly not a bike that is this crazy. The XSR 900 is just balls to the wall, man. This FZ09 DNA is still there, very much in force, and it's just so fun to ride. But again, you know, gotta know what you're getting yourself into. If you're looking for something if you want something stylish, to look cool, you know, the XSR 700, it plays more with, you know, the base model Scrambler, maybe a Monster 797 or the 721. They have so many different model numbers of Monster, but the smaller displacement Monster, not the brand new one of those older ones. You know, you just want a bike that is just fun like that. Maybe an SV650, one of the older ones. You know, that's a motorcycle that is just calm and easy to ride around town, really nice and composed. This thing's an animal, dude. This bike is an absolute animal. This is really sporty, but not track focused, I wouldn't say. Not necessarily. This is like street sport focused, you know? Wearing a cool suit. So it's pretty slick. Differences over the FZ07, you know, I mentioned the garage, but I'll kind of mention them again here really quick. You know, revised throttle, traction control, it weighs about 6 kilograms more than the MT09, FZ09, excuse me. So it's really similar. I think the XSR 700 is actually more different to its MT counterpart than the XSR 900 is to the FZ09. The FZ09 and XSR 900 are basically the same motorcycle. They're not too different. I just cannot believe how hard this thing rips. It's been a while since I've been on one of these bikes, and they just absolutely shred. I mean, you can pick up serious speed with this thing. Serious speed, man. But the rider triangle is really comfortable still. It's still quite upright. It's not super leaned over like a Super Sport, but you can do some serious damage with it. It's more aggressive than the FZ09, actually, the rider triangle. The FZ09 almost sits like a Supermoto. That's how tall it is. The brake feels actually pretty good for being the sort of in-house Yamaha brand. I don't think these are even Nissans. I think they're just kind of off-the-shelf Yamaha components. They work pretty well. Better than the squishy brakes on the R3 and the XSR 700, that's for sure. So, I mean, this is a dual disc caliper, so you are getting something a little bit more premium than that. So that is nice. As you guys can tell, I'm certainly not pushing the XSR, so I'm not going to speak to its sort of on-limit performance, because that would be ridiculous, but just chucking it around these twisties here, it's a really fun bike to ride. Really, really fun bike to ride. I think it definitely works a little bit better than the XSR 700 in these twistier conditions, because it is, you know, a true blue sport bike. I mean, there's really no difference between this and FZ09. Doesn't mind being on the side of the tire at all. Chassis is really nice. And it's a rowdy bike, man. Absolute hooligan bike, dude. Jesus. But still really fun to ride. Really composed. So much more composed the FZ09, man. Oh my god. I don't know what tweaks they made to it, but, you know, suspension-wise, it just feels so much more composed, the FZ09. The FZ09 had a tendency, when you had it on the side of the tire, like let's say mid-corner right here, it just did this weird, like, bouncy type of thing. It was really crazy. And I tried everything, you know, adjusting the preload and the rebound, and I kept tweaking with it. Just could never get that bike to feel quite right mid-corner. The ergonomics on the XSR are better than the FZ09 as well, so that's something to keep in mind. Alrighty guys, mounting up on the XSR 700 here. Could not be more of a worlds apart from the XSR 900. Man, I got a lot to say about this thing. Let's get it up here on some twisty roads up here in the hills in Austin, and we'll see what she's all about. Whereas the XSR 900 is this manic, angry, sporty, crazy machine. The XSR 700, man, Yamaha took the FZ07 and they made it to where it's basically like a sort of sport standard cruiser. I can't believe how comfortable and easygoing this little bike is compared to the FZ07. So as some of you guys know, back last year, early in 2019, we did a giveaway FZ07, so I got to spend quite a bit of time in the saddle with the FZ07, and I really liked it. I liked how it was just this playful, sporty little motorcycle, really good in a lot of different environments. You know, was it the best when the going got twisty? No, not really, but you know what, that's the, you know, the sort of budget conscious nature of the FZ07. It's not meant to be a super sport motorcycle. It's not meant to carve up racetracks, but I think for what it was, it did a really good job. And so Yamaha took this platform, and now with this motorcycle here, they've basically made it to where it's just, you know, comfortable. They've put the bars back a little bit going down the road here, to whereas the XSR 900 felt super manic and just like angry and wanted to really go. I wish I could convey to you how easygoing this motorcycle feels. The pegs are nice and low, the bars are kind of swept back a little bit. I'm stuck here in traffic going like 18 miles per hour, but I don't really care. I don't care at all. This thing's great, really easy to ride. I think for the beginner rider, this is a great platform to get into it and to start riding. I can't see you going wrong with one of these if you're more mature, maybe if you're a little bit older. This is a fantastic motorcycle for that kind of stuff. But I gotta say, going down the road here at a, you know, just a street pace, it feels really nice. I feel like I have plenty of grip. I feel like the turn in, although it's, yeah, certainly not as aggressive as something like a you know, a Rosso 3 or a Super Corsa. I mean, those are proper track day kind of tires. I think that does the job pretty well. Comparing it to like a sport touring tire, it feels pretty similar. It doesn't flick in as quick, obviously, but I don't really think if you're getting this bike, you're not trying to flick in quick and do a bunch of stuff with it, to be honest. I think you're just trying to do this, just trying to cruise and have a nice time, and boy, this bike will cruise, dude. This is such a cool motorcycle to just cruise down the street with. So getting it over on its side, riding it a little bit more in anger here, it doesn't like it at all. Really doesn't like you doing this kind of stuff with it. It seems to, I hesitate to say fall apart, because that's kind of unfair. But it just, you know, these tires aren't really up to the task. It's not really giving me good feedback. But to be honest, I think that's all stuff you could very easily adjust. If you are getting this bike and you want to make something that kind of rips a little bit harder, you could easily swap out these bars for something a bit more aggressive. You could put proper sport bike tires on it, because this thing wears proper sizes. It wears, I think, a 180 in the back and a 120 in the front. So you can certainly put whatever tire you want on this in the traditional sport bike segment, and just make it your own, really. That's the cool thing about the FZ07 and the XSR platforms, is that it, you know, allows you to really play around with it. There's tons of mods for these things. There's tons of builds and other things that people have done. So yeah, getting it over on the side, trying to hustle it through. It pulls really nice. It's still got that same FZ07 character and pull, so really nice motorcycle. But again, because they've changed some of those things on it, it's not as sporty as you might think. Yeah, it's not super confidence inspiring when it's leaned over, but again, just swap out those tires and have yourself a nice time. What else can I tell you about it? Oh, the big change that they made for this bike. Now, I don't know what exactly they did to make it so different, but the throttle response on the XSR 700 is vastly improved over the FZ07. This thing has great on-off throttle feel. much better than the FZ07, but it's still not perfect. The MT bikes all suffer from this kind of wonky throttle feel. It's not exactly dialed in. Even though it is a cable actuated throttle, the feeling you get, so let's say you're off throttle here, once you jump back on the throttle, it's okay. It's not the best, but it's definitely better than the FZ07. So I don't know what they did to this one specifically for the XSR models, but they might have updated it while it's in that mid-year refresh. You can really tell that Yamaha has been after that Ducati, that retro, neo-retro segment, trying to get some of those sales. And I'm sure that, you know, giving that Yamaha build quality and that Yamaha reliability, they are definitely stealing away some sales that would have probably gone to the Bonneville or the Scrambler or something like that. You know, I think this actually, now that I think about it, competes best with something like the Bonneville, honestly. This feels basically like a Japanese Bonneville, which is really cool. For a lot less money, too. The Bonneville, I think, starts at $9,300 nowadays for the 800 version of it. Or are they doing the 900 now? I don't know. I don't know too much about the Bonnevilles, but this is basically Japan's Bonneville, which a lot of people are going to kill me for saying, because the Kawasaki W800 is literally the Japanese Bonneville. It's a little bit more closer to the same ethos. This is a little more sporty than the Bonneville. It's been a minute since I've been on a bike like this where I'm just like, man, this thing, it doesn't want to really do anything other than just relax and have a nice time, which sometimes is really welcome, you know? My Desert Sled is kind of like that. It's definitely a more relaxed motorcycle to take down your favorite road, but with the Supermoto kind of aggressive stance that it has, you definitely do just want to jump curbs and pop wheelies and go off-piste. Can't wait to get an exhaust on this thing, man. This cross-plane twin really opens up and sounds awesome when you get a full exhaust on it, which we are 100% doing and getting. We have to do the full system on this bike. Going up this rather steep hill here, you can see that this cross-plane twin has plenty of grunt in second gear, low in the revs to get you up the hill. No issues at all. Really, really nice engine to just kind of lug around town and keep low in the revs. Yeah, it's interesting. If you start kind of opening it up and just trying to give it some beans, you're kind of like, let's see what it can do, you know? It's almost like it's tuned to be like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to rev me out? You know I'm a bit of a cruiser. We try to give it the beans here in a second. It's fun, man. It's really fun. All that FZ07 DNA. And that's a great quality in a motorcycle, man, because I think sometimes I get wrapped up in the fact that I'm like, oh, the performance of this bike versus what this bike does versus this and that. You know, some people are really looking for something like this. They don't want to be a fast boy at the track. They just want a bike that looks cool and that they can be proud to own and will get them to A to B, and that they're just really going to like it, you know? And that's exactly what the XSR is going to do for you. It's a great looking little motorcycle, and, you know, it does the job so well, you know, to just cruise around your favorite roads like this one. I cannot believe how different it is from the XSR 900. Oh my god. Because the FZ07 and the FZ09 definitely feel related. They definitely, you're like, oh, okay, this is a natural evolution of what the FZ07 is doing. But the XSR 700 and the 900 are completely different. There's nothing similar about them at all, except they're both called XSR, but that's about it. That's about where the similarities begin and end. Completely different bikes. If you do get the chance, ride them back to back and you'll see what I mean. Not if you're a beginner. Don't jump on the XSR 900. That's a manic rocket ship of a bike that's not appropriate for beginner riders. Yeah. But this thing's really nice, man. This is a really appropriate motorcycle for, like I said, that older crowd, someone who is in their, let's say, mid to late 20s, early 30s and beyond, that kind of age range. That's the type of crowd that I see buying this bike. It's a cool ride, dude. It's a really cool ride. Way different than the FZ07. It kind of is his own little thing, honestly, and that's something to be really appreciated. So with that, we've made it at the end of our loop here. Let us get back into the garage and have a nice time and chat about the final thoughts on both of these bikes. Let's go do it.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this look into the XXR 700 versus 900. Hopefully my opinions came across pretty clear, but I'll try to summarize them here. In short, the 700 is just this comfortable, nice, easygoing cruiser of a motorcycle. Even though it has the same DNA as the FZ07, Yamaha's made some essential tweaks and changes to this motorcycle that make it just way more friendly and way more approachable to ride than even the FZ07. I think this is a fantastic option for anybody looking to get into the kind of neo-retro sport bike category and wants to have something with a little bit of power, something you can grow into. I'm thinking, maybe you're in your late 20s, early 30s, and you want to get one of these motorcycles. It's a great option for you to learn and cruise around your town on. Whereas the XXR 900, this has nothing to do with the ethos of the 700. This is a thoroughbred sport bike, absolute hooligan machine. All the same DNA from the FZ09's kind of hooligan nature is found in this bike. They basically just dressed up an FZ09. It's really not that different. I cannot stress this enough. This is not a beginner's motorcycle. I do not recommend that you buy this as your first bike. It is very powerful, very fast, and will quickly throw you on your ass if you're not careful. It has this very manic kind of way about it. It's an incredibly pointy, kind of aggressive motorcycle, very rowdy kind of bike, makes all that torque at the bottom end. So it's an absolute hooligan bike and a super fun motorcycle to ride, but in this specific context, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to compare these two if you're cross-shopping. Bikes that this competes with would be something like the Z900, maybe the Z900 RS, the old school kind of bike that they have, the Street Triple even, which we're gonna have a video coming out about that. Those kinds of bikes, even though it's not as sport oriented as the Z900 or the Street Triple, it's still plenty capable, plenty fun to ride, and plenty easy to get along with. Whereas the XXR 700 competes more with your Bonnevilles, your Scramblers, those kinds of bikes. The feeling you get from riding it is it's exactly that kind of motorcycle. It just wants to go down a nice easy road, keep it at a fun pace, and just enjoy the ride as it comes, which is a welcome change sometimes. Sometimes you want a bike that's just easy going and chill and just wants to, kind of lazily trundle down the road, which is really nice. So very wonderful motorcycle to take at an easy 4/10 kind of pace down your favorite road, whereas this is just an absolute animal. This bike's crazy. And I used to own an FZ09, and I'm amazed at how this bike is literally the same thing. It's just this rowdy, insane motorcycle. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this look into each of the bikes. Hopefully this paints a good picture for you as to which of the Yamaha XXRs you should get. Of course, thanks again to Whitney over at Twisted Road for lending me this motorcycle. If you want the chance to check out your own bikes in your area and get them for rent as well, click the link down below, get yourself a free day of riding using my link. And of course, this is our giveaway XXR 700. So if you want the chance to win this exact motorcycle, I'm gonna be giving it away in June. Click the link down below and check that out. But with all that being said, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time.